What's up? I just woke up. I'm waiting for my coffee right now. I just put some on. You know, I was thinking earlier about how, some things are just overrated. Like some, especially in the guitar pedal world. Like there are some guitar pedals that I don't really care that much for. I wonder if I can set my phone here while I wait for my coffee. Yeah, some just aren't really worth it, are they? I probably would say one of the bigger ones is the Ibanez Tube Screamer, the TS9. It's probably my least favorite guitar pedal that I own. That's actually not the one that I'm going to talk to you about today. The one that I'm talking to you about today is a little different, performs a different function. So the one I'm talking about, it's actually the ISP Decimator. It's this noise gate right here. You can see I just got out of the shower and stuff. I'm all dressed. If you saw my other video that I recently did on the Rowan noise gate, I recently got this little guy right here, this Rowan noise gate. I managed to get it for free, which I'm really happy about. And even if I had to pay for it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because it doesn't cost much. I was just talking about how you don't really need to go too crazy with your budget on your noise gate. And I proved that in that video because that guitar pedal cost me hardly anything. It cost me I got it for free. But if you go on Amazon and you check the price, it's maybe a third of what the Decimator cost me at the time. If I recall correctly, I think I paid more than $100 for this guitar pedal. And as a matter of fact, when I have a look at the price of the ISP Decimator, this is the ISP Decimator 2. But it's basically the same as mine. It just has a 2 on it. It doesn't have a return or send or any other additional features. But it goes for about 175 Canadian, which is, I don't know, maybe 140 US, probably around there. But yeah, it's quite expensive for what you get. And I just find that this pedal is overrated. And I remember looking up online which was the best noise gate, especially for high gain guitar players. And I remember people really hailing this one. I don't know if it's still hailed as it used to be. So as you can see here, this is a Reddit post from just about a year ago, I guess. And a lot of people are recommending the NS2. I believe that's from Boss. And that's one that I would like to try out. I've actually never got that one. But people are still recommending the ISP Decimator. This guy says it works best out of everything he's tried. And I don't know, I just disagree. I think there's better options, and I think the Rowan noise gate is one of them. The reasons why I don't like it, there's a couple reasons why I think it's an overrated guitar pedal, maybe even one of the most overrated. Sorry, it's the ISP. I'm sure they make other great stuff. But the one is that there's no attack and release on this. So you just have your threshold on it, and you just set the threshold, and then it just cuts it off past a certain threshold. Now, I can see how that would be useful if you just wanted to get rid of some basic hiss. However, if you're trying to really be specific with the type of gate you're getting, I just feel like there's more cost-effective solutions. For one, the Rowan noise gate, you have the hard and soft, the fast and slow release option on it. Fast attack, hit the noise gate. We have the threshold set low enough where it's going to gate it right away. As you can see how it latches onto it fairly quick. However, let's make it a soft gate instead. You notice how it kind of gates it a little more slowly? And I feel like that's just way better. And not only that, but this Decimator is extremely heavy. This is a heavy guitar pedal. I don't know how much it weighs. I'll probably weigh it in a second and compare it to the Rowan noise gate, but this thing has got some weight to it, bro. It is a heavy guitar pedal. It might even be heavier than the TS9, and that's a heavy guitar pedal too. Yeah, I'm just making some lunch right now too. Let me show you. Probably gonna mix this in with some hamburger after. Get some soy sauce in there, it's gonna be good. So as you can see, I got the scale here. Let's weigh the ISP Decimator first. So that's 1 pound and 9 ounces. That's 1 pound and 3 ounces. And that's 6 ounces. So yeah, the Decimator is a much heavier than the other two by a fairly large margin. By the way, if you're looking for something to practice, get my fretboard memorization cheat sheet from travelingguitarist.com/fretboard cheat sheet. What it is it's all the triads, the major and minor triads in every single key. Through the octave mapping technique and through a couple other techniques, you can actually just learn to memorize not only the notes of the fretboard, but you can also learn how to improvise in a bunch of different keys by understanding the foundation of harmony, which is the triads, right? The foundation of chords. You can also sign up to my forum at forum.travelingguitarist.com. There you can, chat with people about guitar and music and whatever else you'd like. And another thing I don't like about it, kind of minor, but you have to take the screws off on the back to get the battery in it. That's pretty common for guitar pedals, but I just thought of it. As a matter of fact, when I took the back plate off it, like you can see here, after I got these 4 screws out, I noticed that there's just a big green chip
There actually isn't a battery capacity as far as I can tell, so I guess you can't even put a battery in it if you even wanted to. But the other thing I don't like about it is how you don't have the effects loop options on it, because I think there's a new version of this, the ISP Decimator 2 or the G string or something like that. I don't know what it's called. It's probably not called the G string. I don't remember what it's called. So here's the ISP Decimator 2, the G string. It turns out it actually is called the G string. Why they call it that is beyond me. I feel it's kind of strange to name it after women's underwear, but you know, that's a story for another day. But as you can see here, it's on the Amazon.com, the US version. It goes for $233, and it does have the ability to insert it into your effects loop. But I mean, for $280 Canadian, I mean, that's just a bit much. It's pretty wild. I don't know why it costs this much, but apparently people are willing to pay that. But I believe that one has like the effects loop on it, like kind of like what you would see in the electro harmonic silencer. But ultimately, I just feel like this pedal, it isn't as good as the people said it was. And I remember being a bit disappointed with it. Case in point, when you have the gate turned on, you kind of get that chattering, right? Because there is no like option for attack and release. So instead of gating it slow and then releasing it slow or setting it up in such a way, it ends up kind of just like it cuts in and out, you know, at a certain threshold. It just cuts in and out like that. And there's probably some purposes for that, but for me, I mean, that's just no good for me. Like, I'd much rather prefer to be able to set the attack and release on it. So, you know, the funny thing is that I set up the guitar and I set up all the pedals to do a demonstration of the Rowan noise gate and the Decimator. And I realized that the Decimator is actually considerably better than I remembered. It's been a long time since I've used it. Now, the Rowan noise gate, it works pretty good too. Let me just adjust this phone a little bit. But I recall the Decimator having this like terrible chattering with it. And I found that the fast and the release on the Rowan noise gate was actually a way to ameliorate that. However, while the Rowan noise gate is fantastic for how much you pay for it, I found that the ISP Decimator is actually a lot better than I thought, and I'm going to show you why. So, right there, I'm turning off the Rowan noise gate. Obviously, that's terrible, right? And I got some compression and stuff on that too. Now, it definitely takes care of that noise, and that's with a hard gate, by the way. So if I were to put it on soft like this. Now that is still a considerable advantage like I remembered. However, when I plug in the ISP Decimator, I noticed that it actually does a great job as well. So there it is with no gate, right? There it is with the gate. So it's actually considerably better than I remembered. So it's gating it almost completely, right? Doing a very good job. Now, what I liked about it when I tried it is that now it actually does kind of have a slow release to go with that bend. But it does know that to have a fast attack, I don't know how that mechanism is working on this pedal, but it's gating it very quickly. But when I hold the notes like this, it is kind of automatically going with those notes. It's not cutting it off right away or being chattering with it. And I don't recall this pedal actually being like that. So, you know, after this little experiment here, it makes me, before I was very confident of how overrated I thought the Decimator was. I was very confident because I just remember the last time I used it, I thought, you know, this kind of sucks, like for the price. But now that I started using it again and giving it a better shot, particularly with the compression beforehand in the DS1, I found it's actually considerably better than I thought. But is it still worth that extra, you know, 4 to 5 times the price that I paid for the Rowan noise gate? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I would say it's worth that $175 or whatever the price was. I think that's a little much. However, it is still a great noise gate. And, you know, frankly, I'm kind of almost like a little embarrassed for, you know, misusing the pedal all those years ago and thinking it sucked, because it turns out that maybe I just wasn't using it correctly. But yeah, it just turns out I probably wasn't using it the way that it was meant to be used. By the way, if you're looking for something to practice, get my fretboard cheat sheet. It's on travelingguitarist.com/fretboard cheat sheet. You can also join my forum too at forum.travelingguitarist.com. But I think the lesson from this video is that, like, you gotta go back and try your stuff again, and you know, maybe it wasn't quite as bad as you thought it was, you know, because that's what I learned from this, you know, because I was confident that the Decimator was much worse than it is, but nah, man, it's still a pretty decent pedal. But like I said, is it worth that extra 140 bucks? I'm not sure. So I'm curious to know what you guys think, you know, like what are your most overrated guitar pedals, and you know, what are some recommended noise gates you think are the best? And I guess more curiously is like which pedal did you thought sucked? And then when you went back later and you tried again, you realized like, oh, this is a lot better than I thought.